Chair, good morning. I'm quite surprised at the question because I think it's because of our work that you are here representing your constituencies.
Yes, I might know your work, but somebody down who is listening to us live might not know. So we want you to recap what you've been doing to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Electoral Commission is mandated under the Constitution of Ghana to conduct elections. We register voters. We demarcate constituency boundaries. And we manage the assets of states which are entrusted into our care. That, in summary, is really our work. But in terms of the electoral mandate, we conduct presidential and parliamentary elections. And there are other statutory elections which we also conduct, such as the election of officers for political parties, the representative members into the Council of State, district assembly elections, and all that. And of course, referenda, as and when necessary.
But you haven't done that yet, have you? Do you intend doing anything like that soon?
We are working with the executive, and when we get some finality on those issues, we would let you know.
How are you funded?
We have three. Our main source of funding is from the Consolidated Fund, from the state. We also, particularly when it comes to elections, in terms of, there are certain aspects that donors would support, such as ensuring inclusivity in the elections, making sure that persons with disabilities, women candidates are a part of the electoral system. Donors would support some initiatives at their own discretion that enhance the transparency of the elections. So we do get some donor funding, but our main source of funding is the state. And then, more recently, we have some tiny funds from internally generated funds, mainly from the 5 cedis we charge for replacement of voter ID cards.
The Chairman, I want to make reference to page number 503 from paragraph 2127 to 2132. And it has to do with the disposal of motor vehicles. The Auditor General's work determined that a number of vehicles which were disposed by the Commission were not captured in terms of the provision of a list, which made it difficult for the auditors to determine the actual value. It says in paragraph 2131 that management responded by saying that the fair value of the assets disposed of is estimated to be 402,000 Ghana cedis, 328, so to speak. I would want to know whether the Commission has since made that list available to the auditors, and if they've been able to confirm the estimated value that the Commission's representatives indicated in the report.
We have made the list available, and I think we made copies for members of the committee. There were 40 vehicles which were disposed of in the year 2013. Those vehicles were acquired, most of them in the year 2007, some in 2006, some in the year 2000, some in 2003. When we disposed of them through the auction, a total amount of about 83,000 cedis was realized. We have made copies of the documentation relating to that available as well. We've also given details on each vehicle, the year of purchase, the registration number, the year of disposal, and the amount realized from the auction.
Mr. Chairman, I would want to know which auctioneer was engaged to undertake this process of disposing the said 40 vehicles?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have that information here. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, may I humbly request that the information regarding the auctioneer in question be provided to the committee. Mr. Chairman, if I may follow up, just my last bite at this cherry. Who were the beneficiaries of this auction? I ask this because time and again, we have instances where members of the committee have had reason not only to worry about the cost of the purchase price for these auction items, but also the beneficiaries. Is it possible that staff of the commission were beneficiaries of the said auction?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the list here, but we can make it available to the committee. Yeah. Not on mine.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but I want to know if staff of the commission were beneficiaries of the auction.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. The list is here. Let's see. Well, I see the names of a few staff. Yes. So staff were beneficiaries.
Very well. Mr. Chairman, I think that you give me a last bite. Looking at the list provided, which is the written response, and the purchase price of the said auction vehicles vis-a-vis the disposal prices, would the commissioner agree that the process has not been entirely fair in terms of the disposal prices vis-a-vis the purchase price of the vehicles?
Member, I will disallow that question. I don't know how you determine the fairness in this matter.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in that case, let me rephrase.
Okay.
What entity did the evaluation before these items were disposed?
Mr. Chair, my understanding is that STC did the valuation for the vehicles. And if you also look at the ages of the vehicles, when you look at the purchase price, the youngest of those vehicles, to put it that way, was acquired in 2007. At the time it was being disposed of in 2013, that would be 6 years. So it would definitely be fully depreciated, and so the value on the books would be zero. But I understand that STC did the valuation.
The commission, in terms of disposal of vehicle vis-a-vis the participation of employees of the commission, is it a policy that in a case of this nature, the employees are allowed to participate, take part as a way of motivation, or what is the policy of the commission in terms of this?
Mr. Chair, unfortunately, I have not done any auctions since I assumed office. So I'll defer that question to the
You are liberty to defer if you're not there. Those there who have the information and have that policy, they can respond.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think I can come in here. And as you said, the opportunity is given to the staff as a means of motivating them. But the issue is open. In fact, it's open to even outsiders, but the opportunity is also given to members of staff, especially those who are getting ready to retire or those who have retired. So that is, but whether there is a written policy, like you were saying, this was discussed at the commission, that give opportunity to members of staff who have retired or about to retire, and then the other members of the public.
What is that, the form of the opportunity given to them? Is it a deliberate policy to ensure that once we are auctioning these vehicles, and for that matter, 20 go to the staff. Is that it? Or you allow them to also participate in the auctioning process? If they win, so be it. If none of them get it, so be it. Is that how it is? So in this case, they are participating as citizens of Ghana, or you allocated some of the vehicle to them, that must go to them.
Mr. Chairman, it's not specific that we are allocating this. It's open for all, but to make sure members of staff participate.
I've seen the, if I may say, the name of Senior Staff Association, Drivers Union, Local Union, and even the, if I'm right, the commissioner himself. I'm wondering whether vehicles that are 8 years, 7 years old, and therefore they have been declared maybe unserviceable and all that, will be bought by the commissioner of the commission.
Unfortunately, we can't answer that question on behalf of the former chairman of the commission, as he's not here.
I'm not asking the former chairman, I'm asking the commission. That it looks to me that, I don't know about that, but looking at the few lists, most of these vehicles probably went to the Electoral Commission organization and their staff and their associations, including even the commissioner. That's the kind of question. But is that not how it happened?
Mr. Chairman, I'm unable to confirm that. It's a very nebulous question.
Well, if you see a name that you know, and that person is also an employee of the commission, it falls under the explanation given earlier. That person could be a junior officer, a senior officer. It falls under the explanation given earlier. They participated as citizens of this country. They are not restricted for the fact that they are working at the commission. They are allowed to do that one. So let's take that explanation to apply to everybody.
Mr. Chairman, looking at the vehicles, I believe that, I don't know whether your finance man is here, and that for all purposes of fairness, we have the cost of the vehicle, Chairman, the cost of the vehicle, the depreciation for the period of 6 years, because every institution is supposed to have a depreciation policy on all fixed assets. Then we get the realizable value, which in terms it could be the scrap value before the auction value, for us to pass a very good judgment on whether the auction was properly taken or otherwise. I will therefore beg the indulgence of the chairman to make sure that you update us critically on matters of principles of finance, the costs, the depreciation policy you had, the realizable value that was to be, the amount that you sold, the beneficiaries in name and then in status. We also want the advert date, because Chairman will recollect that sometimes they even sell the vehicle before they advertise. So the advert date and the auctioneer involved. Cost of vehicle, depreciation policy, depreciation value, realizable value, the saleable value, the auctioneer, and the date of the sale, and the date of the advert for the sale.
Okay, can you repeat what you asking for?
Can I just repeat what I have and then
sure.
you can confirm? So, Honorable Member, in addition to what we have given here, you want the details of the auctioneer, the depreciation policy, the advert date, the auction date, the depreciation value, the realizable value, and the saleable value. Okay. Thank you.
But I think you left one out.
And the beneficiaries.
No. What you left out, if I heard, was that the valuation.
The valuation is there.
Is it there?
Chairman, I'm looking at page 501. specifically performance indicators for 2030. Chairman, I'm looking at the expenditure lines, and for 2012, we had for registration and election expenses 134,65025, being the registration and election expenses. This will agree because 2012 is our election year. But when we come to 2013, even though the expenditure line has dropped by 69.9%, we still have 39,265,121, which is over 39 million. Chairman, I want to ask Auditee whether 2013 there were some elections, some of their mandatory elections were held, which led to us incurring registration and election expenses.
I'm very grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wanted some figures confirmed before we can go on. Now, with indulgence, Mr. Chairman, there's a name listed as Christiana Bosompem, and she got a vehicle number GV49Y at 140 Ghana cedis. 140 Ghana cedis. I just want to be sure the figure is accurate. The name is Christiana Bosompem.
Mr. Chairman, that car is paid twice. He first paid 2,000 and the 140 was paid later. So if you look at the list, you have 49 appears twice.
So which one is correct?
It's the same car. He paid this one, he paid 2,000.
That's all right. Mr. Chairman, I'll move on. A Nissan hard-body vehicle, 2007 make, was auctioned at 749 cedis to Said Mohammed. Is he a member of staff? It's a Nissan hard-body. I've checked with the other list they have given. Is he a member of staff?
Chairman, I'm not familiar with the name. Would have to check and confirm.
Okay. You also have Dr. Kojo Afarijan. A vehicle was auctioned to him, and the vehicle number GV141Z. It is a Nissan minibus, 2008 model, auctioned at 2,675 Ghana cedis. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, they do not have, per their response, they do not have the responses from the Upper East and Broafo regional directors. Are they here?
I'd like to know from the Electoral Commissioner if all these monies have been paid. The cars that were sold, whether each person has paid.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've received all the auction sales, the receipts from the auction sales. We have all of it.
How much was paid to the auctioneer in terms of percentages?
Mr. Chairman, I know it's usually a percentage of the sales, but I cannot confirm at this point. We can add that to the details we'll be providing.
Madam, you can ask any of your directors to respond because they were at post at the time. You were not there, so you might not have all the information. So they were at post, they should help because there's a law that governs auction, the percentage of the proceeds that the auctioneer must collect as his fee. So what we want you to provide.
Mr. Chair, I have consulted with them and nobody seems to be certain, and I'd rather we provided information that we're sure of.
Okay. Two more.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if you look at the auditor's query, it was that the commission did not have a register of assets. May I know from the commission whether that is the position?
Sure.
Madam Chairperson, what is the position now? Do you now have a register of all your assets?
From what the auditor said, they said we had not updated it, not that it didn't exist. So I think we've updated it subsequent to that, and we are in the process of again updating it based on all the assets we acquired last year during the elections.
Mr. Chairman, if you go to paragraph 2131, the auditor said the management responded that the fair value of the assets that were disposed of was estimated to be 402,000. Electoral Commission, that they realized 83,029. I want them to reconcile, because you gave the auditors a fair value of the items, of the vehicles that we are going to dispose of. And look at the discrepancy between 402 and 83,000 is huge. How come?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I'd call it a discrepancy. A discrepancy would exist if it was between what was realized, what auditor said we realized, and what we say we realized. This was an estimate given prior to even the valuation by the STC. I do not know the basis of that valuation that was done by management at that time. But clearly, by the time the vehicles were valued by STC and auctioned off, what we realize is what we have accounted for today. So it's, if you want to call it a discrepancy, it's a discrepancy between what someone presumed to be a value as against the actual value after the valuation and the auction sales.
Mr. Chairman, I was saying so because if you look at, if you estimated something to be around 400, and then it comes as low as 83, you will find that the difference is huge. Yes, valuation. The valuation, yes. And that gives room for some suspicion somewhere.
Sure, I think, Mr. Chair, it just shows that the person who was making the estimate did not have the expertise to make the estimate, in my opinion, saying that the person does not work with the state transport company, but works at the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Chairman, then I will employ next time when we are giving something to the auditors. You know, it is going, these books is going fine, and if you go to the website of the Electoral Commission, you will get this information there. And with your response, you see that anybody picking it will be having a double mind as to rate. So I urge that next time, if you don't have the values, you just tell the auditor that we don't have the values. But what you are telling the auditor is what will be incorporated in the report.
Mr. Chairman, I'm done. Next time we'll stick to our areas of expertise.
Madam, you see, when the auditors came there, you had already disposed of the vehicles, and they wanted the amount that you realized in the list, and you chose to give them a fair value. And so the discrepancy, you know, it casts a little bit of doubt on the whole organization. That is where he's trying to come from. It is, how come that you have already sold the vehicles, you cannot provide me how much you realize, and when I ask you, give me a fair idea, if you like, and it's about 300% different. It means that somebody is not on top of issues there. That is the point he's making.
Do we have the Director of Finance who was at post at the time here with us?
No, Mr. Chair, he retired in 2014.